how many people can honestly say that they've told their family they're going to go into business and their family don't turn around and say, why don't you get a job?
Yeah, yeah.
How many people are in that situation?
Less than 1%.
And
Yeah,
the ones that families do expect you to get into business, you're never going to have that conversation because the
yeah,
expectation is that you're going to be in that. So
yeah,
imagine
yeah.
you're going home to your family and you've just something fantastic's happened. And then you're scared to say it to your family because now they're going to say, well, now you can give me more. Or they don't want to celebrate that moment. Or
Mm,
something's going wrong
mm,
and your husband or wife doesn't want to hear it from the 20th time that you've had a stressful day.
yes,
And that's a nice place about Chambers because we're all in the same space.
yes,
Now, let's be honest. If you look at SMEs in South Africa, they live a stressed life. They're their lives are stress orientated.
yes.
And that's where Chambers bring like-minded people together. You're all in the same boat. You can speak to each other. You can learn from each other. But this gives you that moment where you can actually take a breath, quieten down, and listen.
Yes.
Because sometimes being the fly on the wall is more important than being in the conversation.
Hello, South Africans. Welcome to Rise, Thrive, Innovate, the podcast brought to you by the Randburg Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Rise, Thrive, and Innovate is a podcast where we talk about factors affecting businesses in South Africa, the trends of where we're going while looking at the past but motoring to the future. And on today's episode, we have an illustrious guest, someone with years and years of experience, not only in the chamber environment, but in the business environment. He is the current Deputy President of the South African Chamber of Commerce, a previous past president of the Randburg Chamber of Commerce, and a current director of our Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Neil Pollock. How are you, Neil?
I'm actually very good, and I'm looking forward to today. It's not every day that you get the opportunity to sit in front of somebody like you and have my mind picked on and see
Yes.
what I can relate on, what businesses I've been involved in, how chambers can help businesses, because I actually have seen that. I've seen some remarkable stories. But like all good stories, I can't tell you the real bad ones. but there's some really good stories that we can relate and talk about.
Yeah. So, Neil, actually, first of all, right, take us into chambers of commerce. Why do they exist? What is their reason for being? Chambers of commerce, I've read somewhere they started in the 1500s in France, and they were there to assist traders and merchants and the likes. The government of the time then was maybe raising taxes and the likes of that, and then businesses realized they need to come together. But tell us a bit about that.
I
Yeah.
absolutely love your question because I think South Africa has gone through two waves of business chambers. One was in the 60s and 70s, and we can see how our country absolutely flourished in that time. And then politically things changed in our nation, and it was like a reset was being pressed. But a reset button for humans doesn't happen in 30 seconds. And if we look at where we are now in South Africa, the second wave of chambers are coming along because people are starting to realize that it's in business that your future sits. It's when businesses work together that communities can thrive. It's when businesses work together, innovation starts taking place. And I think South Africa's ready for that. If we look around the world, where some of the most successful economies have been, is where chambers have been used. Now, we've all heard of this term, the Old Boys Club.
Yeah.
Now, the Old Boys Club was very well defined that you could only go to there if you're invited. A business chamber says, come to us if you're in business in our area and work together. So you don't have that barrier of entering a group of people that are making changes into a community, because businesses enable individuals to thrive. But those individuals allow a community to thrive. A community then starts driving an area then starts driving a province starts driving a country. And it's quite remarkable. We've seen throughout history that it doesn't require everybody at the same time to respond, but you need to have these pockets of future goals. And we've seen that taking place in the business chamber space. So the history showed us that where chambers have been successful, communities have been successful. And it's such an exciting time now because I'm starting to see the second wave of people using chambers. A chamber isn't a place you go to to go and sell yourself. A chamber is where you go and speak to like-minded business people to learn things. Imagine you own a Uber business and it's you in Johannesburg, and what do we all know? Our roads become quiet. If our roads are quiet, that means the Uber industry is quiet.
Of course.
And imagine you sitting there saying to somebody, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. And somebody says to you,
you know, December time, festive time, everybody moves. Yeah.
And have you thought of moving your vehicles to where everybody's going to be?
Absolutely.
And then the person suddenly says, oh, but or this or that. And somebody else says, but I know somebody that would love to do Uber driving and they're already in Durban. Can you move a car there? Or the person says, well, I can take some of my vehicles there. And then that conversation flows.
Yeah.
And imagine that person would have never had that thought or that conversation by themselves.
By themselves, of course.
But it just naturally happened in a business chamber. Because when you're in a business chamber, you're all thinking business.
Yes.
And those conversations flow from that. So if the person walked into the business chamber and said, I'm an Uber driver, can you give me business? Everybody says no. But if you walk into there and say, I'm an Uber business driver, and you're talking, then suddenly I think to myself, wait a bit, I need staff late at night to be transported home.
Of course, I was about to get to that of course some people
and I need somebody I can trust.
Yeah. I've got kids, I need them to go to school.
Yes.
I've got this, I need them
Then that starts happening because you've been watching that Uber driver and his company, and you've heard a couple of stories where the person went out of their way to help somebody, and now you can trust your family, your friends, your staff with that person.
Yes.
And that's what chambers are about.
I hear you.
And there's a different nuance, but you get to speak business, and business elevates. And I don't know about you, but sometimes thoughts are stuck in my head.
Yes.
But it needs to leave my mouth and go in through my ears.
Yes.
And it needs to land on other people's ears so they can process that and come back and challenge me sometimes.
Of course.
And challenge isn't in terms of like an army. It's like you say something to me, I respond back to you. Sometimes I respond back to you and think, I shouldn't have actually taken that approach because now you're unlocking my thoughts.
Yes. Absolutely, hey? And I've realized a lot that iron sharpens iron. You know, there's a saying that says iron sharpens iron, right? So like this conversation we're having right now, we're sharpening each other. Chambers, for me, has been a lot of that. You go in with your idea and it comes out a lot sharper and you come out with a lot more context and the likes, you know. And I think business people in general, we live in silos, you know, we work in silos a lot of the time. A lot of successful business people, you know, you might find that you're even a CEO of a very large company, you know, but are you actually networking with other CEOs? Are you actually getting around and meeting other like-minded business? Are you actually meeting startup businesses which tend to be quite energetic? I find them quite energetic, and that energy sometimes rubbing off you is shaping you also, you know, it's getting you energized and realizing, well, actually we've got a big market, but there's more, you know. So
but let's take that point there. How many people can honestly say that they've told their family they're going to go into business and their family don't turn around and say, why don't you get a job?
Yeah.
How many people are in that situation?
Less than 1%.
And the ones that families do expect you to get into business, you're never going to have that conversation because the expectation is that you're going to be in that. So imagine you're going home to your family and you've just something fantastic's happened. And then you're scared to say it to your family because now they're going to say, well, now you can give me more. Or they don't want to celebrate that moment. Or something's going wrong and your husband or wife doesn't want to hear it from the 20th time that you've had a stressful day.
Yes.
And that's a nice place about chambers because we're all in the same space.
Yes.
Now, let's be honest. If you look at SMEs in South Africa, they live a stressed life. They're their lives are stress orientated.
Yes.
And that's where chambers bring like-minded people together. You're all in the same boat. You can speak to each other. You can learn from each other. But it just gives you that moment where you can actually take a breath, quieten down, and listen.
Yes.
Because sometimes being the fly on the wall is more important than being in the conversation.
Absolutely. Being the fly on the wall, I think, has brought me a lot of business deals.
It has, doesn't it?
Just a bit of know-how. Okay, actually, that's going on. Oh, okay, that's going on.
Because now you're inside the tent. The most difficult thing for any business person is to get inside the tent.
Absolutely.
And then you do get inside the tent and then you realize this tent has got many tents. But being inside and being a fly on the wall. And it's quite remarkable because we want people to be successful,
Yes.
but you also want to be feeling safe that the person that you're going to introduce or allow you to be the fly on the wall is not going to embarrass you. Because
Absolutely.
often we get opportunities and somebody says, bring somebody with you, but who are you going to bring with you? And I think we need to start introducing this language of, are you bankable?
Yes.
Because when you're bankable, I can find you projects. But when you're not bankable, how do I bring projects to you? So when you're in business, you're often hearing about projects.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking to yourself, okay, who do I know that can do this? Who do I know that can do that?
Yes.
And sometimes you know some people. But when you're inside a business chamber, you then can say, I've got this project. Who do you know that you can vouch for?
Yes.
That if something goes wrong, you and I are going to have a
Are gonna
conversation.
have a conversation, right? So Neil, I mean, let's go back to that term, bankable. I know a lot of our viewers at home probably have a big challenge with that term, bankable.
Yes.
You know, so how would you define bankable to me right now?
So bankable is one, I can trust you if I introduce you to somebody.
Yes.
2, I know you'll make the difficult decisions. 3, you understand that profit has to be made in this.
Yes.
4, you need to be able to take more than what you're given and produce something out of that.
Aha.
And a bankable person's going to show up.
Yes.
Bankable person is not going to make excuses. A bankable person is actually also going to bring me value to my network.
Sure.
Because you might be the most amazing person, but I know you're going to take all the glory and you're going to push me to one side.
Yes.
Why would I give you that opportunity?
Aha.
So it's about being able to build my network, your network, and other people's networks.
So the first thing, like you started, is trust. Trust is a very big thing.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people think they cannot get there with trust, right? I mean, trust is really somebody saying that I will stand up for you, I will stand sometimes guarantor for you, surety for you, and the likes. You know, sometimes it can even be a business. It can be a company that you're doing business with. They can stand in trust for you. You know, I think that's a very important thing that you just said there, because I think not enough emphasis is put on it. Not enough emphasis is put that actually this could be anybody in your network, somebody that you're already supplying. Actually, the best way to build bankability is actually start building relationships of trust, even with your customers, you know, because you're
Good
going to meet
example.
these people.
So I get somebody reached out to me and says, they know a company that's up for sale. Would I be interested in talking to the company owner? And the first thought that went through my head is that we supply them goods. And I went and checked, do they pay on time? And the fact I could see they always paid on time. And that told me a small little piece of information about that particular company. And then conversations started flowing from that. The deal never happened. But if the person was a bad payer, it would have never even got into discussion. And the door's not completely closed. We know in business, you know, you talk about something now, but 3 years later, sometimes the opportunity might come along.
Sure.
However, the person demonstrated a very quiet step that people aren't watching. And I use that piece of information.
Yes.
And that's how we're collecting. Data's been collected on all of us all the time.
All the time, right? Yeah, that's absolutely true. But getting back to chambers, right? And it's quite interesting because I want to ask you something. The relationship with government, right? That's why I want to break through, because I think there's this misconception or confusion about chambers. Are they government entities? Are they working with the government? Are they working with business? Are they on both sides? You know, are they half political, half business focused? And I know with the South African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, there's your reports, your MGI reports, you know, and where you're looking at business confidence, you know. So take us briefly into that, like the relationship with government, and where do chambers stand, and who do they stand for fully? Because if you're measuring business confidence, you're really looking at the factors of business, you know.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think if we can use 3 different acronyms, you've got G to G, that's government to government.
Yes.
And the idea of government to government is creating protocols between different countries and the rules of engagement. Then you've got business to business.
Yes.
And that also has a set of protocols. How does business do business with other businesses?
Yes.
And then you've got what I would call C to C, and sometimes it's B to C, but you've got community to communities. And if you look at those steps, So business sits in the middle. It doesn't sit on top and it doesn't sit at the bottom.
Of
It
course,
sits in the middle.
in the
So it
middle.
has to find a way of creating languages between the different parties. Randburg is one of those most unusual chambers. I wish people could see some of the conversations that take place in the background. We would think because Randburg is in Johannesburg and is in Gauteng, that that's the role in which we play. You'll be surprised how many governments around the world reach
Yeah.
out to Randburg.
Yeah.
How many different towns and cities inside South Africa reach out to Randburg.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's because of
I mean, we
Randburg's
looked at our
pedigree.
stats. We had hits more from overseas.
Yes.
Lots from Europe, more from Europe, Asia, Ireland, countries like
Yes.
Ireland, Scotland, everywhere. Yeah, yeah.
And,
You're absolutely right.
it's because there's legacy and people actually have heard about the Randburg Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
Yes.
And our businesses in our community are just not leveraging us enough. Because when you are in a state of survival, you're in a foxhole.
Yes.
And you become blind to your community around you. And my challenge is to businesses. Just pitch up at the Randburg Chamber. You might drive them a bit crazy. Just pitch up. Because the more that pitch up, the more businesses will start talking to each other.
Of course.
And you have got one of the most powerful chambers in the whole of the country. And I'm so glad that you're tracking stats because there's nothing like numbers.
Yes.
So the previous CEO of Randburg, and she has passed away now.
Yes.
And Richard has taken over well from Linda, but they worked well together. I think some ways that Linda was hoping that Richard would take over. There was a bit of mentoring taking place there. So the mantle has been handed over. The majority of people that would reach out to her on LinkedIn were overseas people.
Yes.
Wanting to know how to do business in Randburg or South Africa.
Yes.
Now this comes to the point about export. Now when we look at South Africa, we know how to export minerals.
Yes.
But we kind of forgot that the whole world needs a whole lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where there's so much available. I get to speak to high commissioners, I get to speak to ambassadors, and they all say the same thing. We need products and services from you.
Yes.
The other thing is that what people don't realize, we sometimes get into trouble because we do things right. When the government of South Africa signs a contract, they take that contract seriously. When a business signs a contract in South Africa, our courts will hold you to that.
They will.
And we don't realize that the world looks at us and says, we know when we go into contract negotiations with you, you're real players. Now, some of the things that we're getting wrong with one of the big countries in the world is because they don't like some of the things that we have signed. And we said, we cannot break our contracts. Work with us that we can understand how we can bring these conversations into play.
Sure.
We know in the G20, what was the one word that kept on coming out? We can work together. We can work together. We can work together. And why is that? Because they understand that when you're in South Africa, it's about working together. There's no ways you have between 0 and 30 million foreigners in your country and you're not finding a way of working together. And we do hear points of conflict, but people don't hear about the winning cases. And there's this unbelievable world that we sit with. People are contributing, but we are not bringing people together to leverage together. And that's where chambers can bring those languages together, those people together.
You've defined it so well. Because, I'm of the thought that, firstly, South Africa, how does it make money? We make money by exporting our products all over the world, I think let's start there as a basis. Because I don't think everybody really understands that every citizen, every business, every employee of a company, every child going through school, that's how we get wealthy, by exporting what we make here in South Africa, in our borders, to the rest of the world. And the money that we are receiving from the rest of the world being consumed in South Africa then makes South Africa a better place,
And it is, and there's an opportunity taking place in the world now. But if we do not take that opportunity now, we will be left behind.
And let's break down that opportunity. Let's
look at it. So we now know that people are re-looking at supply chains. So that's logistics.
Supply chains are moving. Yes.
And they're looking different.
Yeah.
Now, let's be honest. In South Africa, we're not good at it. We're getting better at it again. We
Yeah.
used to be phenomenal at it.
Yeah.
And then we went through a dark period. So I think we should start using, because it just makes it easier.
But
we went through a dark period, but now that period is coming to an end.
Yeah.
And we're starting to figure out the logistics that are involved in that.
Yes.
So if you're a factory in Gauteng, which happens to be the sixth biggest economy in Africa,
Yes.
just think about it.
Sixth biggest economy.
Gauteng is the sixth biggest. Now,
This is when you compare it to countries?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Compared to countries.
Oh, wow.
So if we
That's an
imagine
interesting
if we
stat.
can unlock just our logistics, what that would give to our businesses.
To our businesses, yes.
So we need to take logistics seriously.
Okay.
But when the community allows a railway line to be destroyed, we should be able to say to community, you are the problem. Because when you let your infrastructure and your logistics be destroyed, you cannot build. But then we also have to be aware that so many people are in such a desperate space that you sometimes hurt yourself just to cope with that dark space that you're in.
But I've got a counter argument also, right? We, like government also sometimes talks down to our people, not face to face with our people. Because I believe that when you look at the system, tendering system, maybe that built the railway line, right? Did you actually get the whole community involved? You know, because if we're going back and assisting our people, we're starting off with dealing with the mindset, but also giving them opportunity on the ground to actually build this thing together.
So let's take that, because I think that's such a brilliant concept.
Yeah.
And I spoke to some friends the other day about this, and they weren't too sure about what I was saying. Is that if we look at our RDP houses that have been built in South Africa, were they built by individuals living in those areas, or were they built by big companies that came in, built those houses, and then left?
Yeah. The library, was it built by the people in that community? Because you won't burn something you built. You won't burn something that your dad tells you, hey, son, you know I built this, or you know your uncle built this, or you know your mother was involved in this.
And the other thing is that when people get involved in something, the conversation isn't about destroying. The conversation is like, now we have got a machine that's starting to work for us. And we need to be taking those things into consideration. I can understand, for example, if you're building a national highway, it's very difficult,
of course,
to actually get locals involved. But why don't we say this national highway is going through your community? How do we take an off-ramp off this highway into the community, and we teach the community to make a reason to leave the highway? So the trucks that are going up and down the highway, if you want something to leave your town, it's easy to leave and go into your town and be put into the logistics chain. But also you can bring tourism into your community. You can make people move easier. So the road building might not be built by the community, but how do we get the community's commerce, industry linked in now, because that road is going to be there?
Yes.
And those are the conversations that are going to take place. Now, if you look at the railway that took place in South Africa, nearly every single town had a siding. Why did it have a siding? So that the farmers could get goods and send
into
goods.
The trains, right?
I grew up on a farm. You know how quickly we could get product to our siding? It didn't take a month or 2 months or 3 months.
Is it?
Between we needed it to it arriving there, and it was at the co-op. As a farmer, you needed a co-op, so where did it make sense having the railway siding? It was next to the I can remember my dad having to buy tractor tires. The co-op didn't have it. The next week we had those tractor tires because the logistics knew how to get it onto the train, the train knew how to get it to the siding, the co-op knew how to take it off the train, the co-op knew how to deliver those tractor tires to my father. Now, nobody in the community built the railway line, but the siding was there to enable the community to
access the railway line and benefit from it, right?
And that's what we need to be doing.
Because you see these old railway lines everywhere. I mean, I was doing some work at the Nkangala district municipality, and they've got an incubation hub there, and they've got a railway line that runs actually through there, but it's inactive.
And it is. And it's those type of things. The other thing that we need to make people feel comfortable about is being an owner. Because a business owner spends their profit where they live.
Yes.
And we've created this unbelievable mechanism of franchising. But franchising, even though you're the owner, it's not actually about you.
Yes.
being the actual business owner where your money stays in the
Absolutely.
community. So maybe we need to be finding ways of talking to our franchisees and the big companies and say, how do you empower us to be the back engine in the logistics that we can be front shop business owners? And technology. Imagine, for example, you had a big company that can supply many things to you, but it's not their shop there. But technology allows you to run your business, and they are the back engine of that.
Sure.
Then, because of technology, and you sell shoes, you can have several pairs of shoes there, but if it doesn't have your size, you can go onto the app, it can be purchased, the large back-end company delivers to your distribution center twice or 3 times a week. No more than 2-3 days later, you got your pair of shoes.
Yes.
And that slowly starts unlocking communities, because now we are bringing own businesses into that space. The amazing thing that then starts happening is that 1 or 2 businesses are power people.
Yes.
And now money can find them because they're in a commercial space. When you're a power person and you're hidden, it's very difficult for money to find you. But when you're in an identifiable commercial space, you can be watched, and then money can find you. There's lots of money there, but it's looking for bankable people. And we need to bring people into commercial spaces that we can start seeing who are these bankable people.
Very, very good point there. Very interesting point that you're making there. Because going back to it, when we look at how we're going to grow our economy, I mean, our economy is growing very slowly. There's talk of, is the inflation targeting policy set by the Reserve Bank the right route for us? I'll ask you that question, but my view, I think, resonates with what the Reserve Bank governor said in terms of they're not really here to create jobs as such. We've got ministries of trade and industry, and we've got organizations like chambers, like the Randburg Chamber, like South African Chamber of Commerce, that are there to be in the gap, for businesses.
So, a brilliant question. What we don't realize is that the Reserve Bank is probably one of our strongest assets, because the world knows they can trust our Reserve Bank. And when you want to bring money into a country, you want to have an idea what's going to happen with your money in that country. If inflation runs away, people become nervous putting money into a country. Now, our economy is so dead slow that we shouldn't have any inflation, because no consumerism is creating any inflation.
Sure.
So our inflation is structural. And who controls structure? That's where the finger should be pointed. And I think we all know where we should be pointing our finger. It's not the consumer. It's the structure that has got us where we are. The fact that our inflation rate is where it is says a lot to the institution of the Reserve Bank. So it makes them a very trusted partner. Now we need to start looking at our structures and get our structures to start unlocking themselves. You know what's so appalling about our country?
Let me know. Let's hear.
Beginning of the year, the world said the world was going to slow down and was not going to achieve its targets of 2.7%. We've seen many stories being told about how chaotic the world is. What's going to happen at the end of this month when they review the world's global output? They met their target. So how did the whole world meet its target? How did South Africa have the G20?
Yes, which was
and we couldn't grow.
Great event for tourism.
Yes. But we couldn't grow. That tells you we've got a structural issue.
Yes.
But we've also got a mindset that doesn't know how to work together to unlock. How many important people came into South Africa? And we did not leverage that space.
Yes.
But I can tell you, because I was in some of the conversations, that some of the most powerful people in the world were saying, we didn't know this country's here.
Yes.
We didn't realize this is happening.
This is happening.
Now, when you looked at prime ministers and senior leader people around the world coming into South Africa, they all had projects in South Africa. They went and visited their projects. And then they spoke between each other. And then they all started realizing there's phenomenal things happening in South Africa. So it's not like there's not phenomenal things happening. It's just that we don't know how to unlock it. And maybe it's business's time to start making changes to the structural structures. And as an individual business, you can't do it.
Sure.
but chambers are allowed to do it. I can tell you that in Johannesburg, the Randburg Chamber has a very good working relationship with the city of Johannesburg. It's also got a very good working relationship with the Department of Economic Development in Gauteng.
Yes.
So the relationship's there, but we need more businesses to be part of that conversation. The city's asking us and saying, the more successful you are, the more successful we're going to be as a city.
Of course.
Because now we can speak.
Yes.
What often happens,
and there's more tax money in the base, right?
of course, and that's what you want.
Yeah.
Because the more money that's in the base means that there's more business that's taken place.
Absolutely.
Now, the interesting thing what happens with governments is that individual people don't know what to do, so they hear about government and they keep knocking on the door of government.
Yes.
Now, if you have 100 individual people knocking on your door, you become paralyzed.
Yeah, it's paralyzing.
You can't do what you need to do. The government has gone and done research, and they'll say cabbages and beetroots grow really well here. As a farmer, you can farm with anything that you want, but if you farm with cabbages and beetroots, we'll give you a guaranteed takeoff. Now, any business, when you have a guaranteed takeoff, what are you going to do?
Sure.
Are you going to go and say, well, I'm going to grow strawberries and I have to go and find the market, or I know how to farm and I've got a takeoff and I'm going to farm in that space? And that's what China does so successfully. It creates takeoffs. The other thing about China, it is a super capitalistic environment.
Yeah.
It is super capitalistic.
Ultra. And it's very best practices focused. Best practices. Everything is all about best practices. Yes. This is the best way to do this. We're going to do it this way. This is the right way. It's going to take the shortest amount of time, cost us the least amount of capital. You know, it's very razor sharp like that. But Neil, as
they've taken hustling to another level.
Yeah, they really have. Right? Yeah, but Neil, as we're wrapping up, right? And I feel like this conversation, we need to have it many more times over. But as we're wrapping up, what nuggets can you give South Africans for the year ahead, and why they should also be a part of this chamber movement? Why we need each other, because we also need iron sharpens iron. So you're sitting at home, but you should be sharpening other people.
I love the question that you're asking. So what typically happens in South Africa this time of the year? We go into our time with our family, typically away from work. Some businesses can never be, but a lot of people go into a family environment. I think you should be sitting with a piece of pen and paper and say, list every single person you name. Name them all. Doesn't matter who the person is. And then right next to every single person, do you trust them? And then all those names that you've written next to you trust, how can you help their network and how can they help your network? So when 1 January starts, you know who you're going to be talking to. Figure out your network, because your network is your power. Secondly, when you walk with a group of people together, you are going to go and do things. There's an awesome saying: if you want to go far, go by
yourself, right?
No, it's if you want to go fast,
go by
yourself. If you want to go far,
go with a young person. Young people can go fast and far, right?
I like that. I like the way you're thinking, because you're already disrupting the saying. So, because at the B20, somebody actually stood up and said he loved the saying that if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with a group. But you've introduced the actual jewel, bringing young people in, because young people do both things. They go fast and they can go far.
Absolutely.
And we need to bring our young people into our conversations. Without a doubt. Young people, I mean, I wish I was born not so long ago. I wish I was born 20 years ago. Because I think the youth has got the oyster. They've got the future. I think if you're going to be born, my age group, I was born in I'm going to give a bit of your age. I was born in the 60s, but I was too late for that wave. People that were born in the 50s and 50s got the wave of the late 60s and 70s. People that have been born in the 2000s, they're ready for the next wave. That youth, we need to focus on our youth. Use ChatGPT or Claude or whatever AI platform you want to, but figure out who do you trust in your network, who's bankable, what can you do to that network, and how can they leverage you, and join chambers.
Brilliant. Thank you, South Africans, for joining us today on this enthralling podcast. I think Neil should be a regular guest here. Neil, we need to have more conversations like this. It's not enough time, really. Yeah,
It just melted away.
it melted away completely, eh? But really enjoyed your time today. Thanks for coming through. Hope you enjoyed it, South Africans. You need to join the Randburg Chamber of Commerce and Industry, where we have conversations like this on a regular basis, where we connect you with market leaders, where we connect you with government leaders, different business leaders. We share thought. You need to bring your grievances to the table so that together we can form consensus on where we want to take South Africa. It's in our hands to shape it. Thank you so much and see you again.